Now, by my own admission, I'm not the biggest comic book person. I've read over a bunch of DC, Marvel, Street Fighter, and Sonic, but that's more or less it. However, when I was researching Skylanders merchandise, I came across a comic panel and immediately went off to read. Now, for this, I actually read through every single Skylander comic I could find. Luckily, they're pretty well preserved online. For the sake of this video not being 30 minutes long, I'm going to go over one arc. If you would like to see a longer breakdown of every comic in Skylanders, be sure to let me know down below. Just wanted to give some overall thoughts before jumping in. I was immediately impressed with some of the art. Characters are true to their original selves, just with more room to speak amongst each other, which I'm a very big fan of. Alright, so now we're going to get into the arc that we're going to cover today, the Return of the Dragon King. This arc actually starts as the B plot in the comics. Post every comic there's a little B section. After we go through the main portion of this comic, the Deja Vu story, we move on to our first bit of this chapter. It starts off with Spyro saving a fairy, the same kind of fairy that Persephone is in the games. She seems innocent, however, Spyro feels weak after making contact with the distressed fairy, and we zoom in to see that the fairy has absorbed Spyro's power somehow. Moving on to the next issue, it's the very same, focusing on Bouncer, Trigger Happy, Night Shift, and Blades. Also, this is where I'd like to mention the comic still has the amazing reaction faces, like look at this. Also, little lore tidbit, I learned that the legendary Skylanders are actually armor sets for Skylanders to use. They can summon it once they reach a legendary rank. So much lore. Anyways, once that wraps up, we move on to Hex. Hex is performing for a crowd, doing a little magic routine, but when asking for a guest to join on stage, we see the fairy once more, who we learn is named Calliope. And once more, Calliope touches another Skylander and weakens them. Much like Spyro, Hex just brushes this off, thinking nothing of it and continuing her show. And that's when we see the mysterious fairy has collected yet another Skylander's power. Our next issue goes over Jawbreaker and how he evolved from simple robot to Skylander. Nothing really key to point out in this one. And yet again we're met by another Skylander, this time Cinder, who's fighting in Brock's arena. Cinder effortlessly defeats the horde of enemies that come her way, with Brock then saying she'll be doing a meet and greet outside. As you could expect at this point, in the crowd of people looking to meet Cinder, Calliope is among their ranks, eager to speak with the dragon. With a simple handshake, the deed is done, the fairy taking the opportunity to leave soon after. However, now we see that she looks down with sorrow, knowing this is wrong, but acknowledging she doesn't have a choice in the matter, leaving us to wonder as she flies away, hoping to be set free. Now we've passed the build-up, we're coming to the main portion of this arc. It starts off with Callie Flynn and Gurgle Finn, all on a boat sailing to the Willikin village, originally from Skylander Giants actually. However, they're ambushed by pirates led by Frightbeard. It's revealed that the Skylanders were waiting on board all along. Every Skylander is doing just fine, but Spyro is shocked after he blasts Frightbeard head on, and nothing happens. No damage, still conscious. Spyro is much weaker than usual. They head back to Skylanders Academy with Mags running tests on Spyro, but everyone is surprised when the tests say that Spyro was of perfect health. As they're all speaking amongst themselves, Hex chimes in, having just returned from a battle she nearly lost, saying she could only manage the simplest of spells. She continues that whatever this is, its origins seem magic based. Knowing that, the gang all heads to Persephone for assistance, which the Nice Fairy then reveals that all but their most simple of powers have been stolen, revealing the only person that could have done this to a Skylander of all people is a fairy, as fairies can grant power or take it away, which spark both Spyro's and Hex's attention. Spyro recounts about his encounter with Calliope, with Hex backing up the same fairy greeted her recently. With the assistance of a fairy locator made by Mags, the group heads out to stop this seemingly evil foe. Arriving at the fairy's location, they see that Cinder has a head start on them, already have been tracking Calliope for a few days. Altogether now they head into a cave situated on the island, heading deeper until they spot the fairy. The fairy makes a run for it, offering up the crystal atop a podium before smashing it down, reviving the Dragon King, Malfor. Now, quick pause. If you don't know who this is, allow me to explain. Like Spyro and Cinder, Malfor is not from Skylanders originally, but was adapted into this lore. He's never made an appearance in the games, relegated to both a comic and a Netflix show. And with that reveal, that's where this comic ends. This issue starts off with the Skylanders awaking, too weak and beaten to escape the confines of this cell. They discuss Malfor, dropping some lore about him, along with Hex saying she beat him some time ago. But then we jump to Malfor, already at the Skylanders Academy tearing shit up. I also just love this frame, some of the art in this is so good, man. We get to see everyone teaming up against him, Giants pulling him back by his tail, a very nice nod by the way, whilst other Giants shot him from behind. However, their efforts are useless when his tail breaks apart, knocking all Giants off him. Malfor lets out an energy wave, destroying both the scenery and the Skylanders as he stands proud over them, absorbing their power into his crystal. We jump back to see the Skylanders still locked in the cave. They bicker amongst themselves for a while, but then we get some more Malfor exposition. Cinder recalls how she was taken as an egg. Malfor used her to wreck shop across Skylands, but Spyro eventually saved her, turning her to the good side. Now, far more interesting to me is Hex recalls her backstory. Hex was once a living, elven sorceress. Her magic so strong that it reached the curious ears of Malfour. Wanting the power for himself, he'd send minion after minion to try and capture Hex. Hex and her crew hid out, but the young sorcerer was tired of hiding, confronting the Mad Dragon herself. She can't recall much of what happened or how long the battle lasted, only that it was filled with their awesome power colliding, and after this, Malfour was dead and Hex became forever changed, turning undead. Side note, I already really liked Hex, but getting all this little backstory and lore, oh my god, I'm loving this. I'll do a little fucking like map path theory on this, it'd be great. After discussing this with the fairy, help soon arrives. We jump back to the ongoing battle between Skylander Academy and Malfour, with the dragon eventually destroying the building. The issue ends with Spyro, Cinder, and Hex arriving to face down the Mad King. This chapter begins with Calliope reflecting on her choices, filled to the brim with regret for her actions that led up to this point. We then jump back to where our last chapter ended, the battlefield. Shit-talking ensues before the first blow was thrown, beginning the fight once more. Mag stalls the evil king with gumballs, exploding into a vast field of chewing gum that keeps Malfour stationary. While stuck in the gumballs, Hex uses her magic to redirect Flynn's ship down onto Malfour, crashing into the Mad Dragon. Poor Flynn, man, he's like Kevin 11 in this little scene.
Look, Gwen, you have to treat a car like you treat a woman.
Go on.
No, I sense I've made a mistake of some kind.
We jump to an audience watching this battle rage on, Calliope among their ranks. But that's when Persephone appears like, "Bitch, you know this you're doing, right?" I don't know how they know each other, fairy Yuri. One lesbian to another gives a speech inspiring her to not be afraid, to assist those who are fighting because of her mistakes. With this newfound confidence, Calliope meets up with Spyro to inform him where the power source is, the crystal within his chestplate. With this newfound information, Spyro and Hex do a combo move that turns Spyro into a Hadouken. It pierces the Mad King's chestplate, the crystal falls, being broken by Spyro himself moments later, which not only depowers Malfour, but returns every Skylander to their full strength. Whilst he monologued on, Wallop had chained his tail to Flynn's broken boat, hitting it off the edge, which dragged the defeated dragon down. Bars. I think Wallop just killed the guy in like cold blood. And that's where the Malfour saga ends off. So what do I think? I really enjoyed my time with this. The comic has a unique story with a very different villain for once.
Are you fucking—
Multiple Skylanders get their time to shine, and we get a more in-depth look at them, whether it's just conversations or seeing how they act in different situations. I think if the franchise ever was to return, I'd love more character-driven story beats like the ones demonstrated in this arc. If you are a Skylanders fan, I think you owe it to yourself to check some of these out. This is probably the place a lot of these characters get the most time to breathe, so if you have a favourite, check these out. Your main Skylander might just have their time to shine. And with that all said and done, thank you, dear viewer, for watching.
They call him the what? A beverage of sorts?
Niggas call me the drink. I'm a rich nigga paid so she wanted to link. Fuck you know about that. This nigga gay, you could call him the twink. Bitch, my pocket's fucking fat. Put a scope on a cake cause it's one of my kinks. Frieza, you're just a fucking scrub. Niggas call me the cup and I don't give a fuck. Frieza, what the fuck is up? You be smoking on crack, I be smoking on dubs. Niggas call me the drink.